Hey, this is Snowblitz.
6-string.
Starlight Ironhoof.
4-string.
And Zeta Prime.
And this is Elements of Harmony. Tonight on the show, we have an artist who is still relatively new to the fandom, but is very talented. Reverbrony has been creating heavy guitar-focused, orchestral-backed pony tracks since April of 2013. A multi-instrumentalist based out of Karratha, Australia, Reverbrony has been featured on the Ponies at Dawn album Moonlight Vapors, the Pounceade Brony charity album, and worked on background music for the Heroic Tales MLP radio play. And he joins us here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a gimped episode of Elements of Harmony, where we are missing half our hosts. Yay!
Hey!
We're only missing one.
Well, we're missing two, aren't we? No, we're not. I can't count.
Well, no, just one. We're missing the guy that was gonna fill him.
He feels like 2, though.
That's true. So we're missing 2 by extension.
Fill 4. I'm sorry.
Okay, so tonight we're missing Snow, and we're also missing Sliff, who was going to be Snow's replacement, but, you know, things happen.
Yep.
He slipped up.
Yeah, he slipped away.
Slipped and fell. He's probably dead. That was morbid. I'm sorry.
That's you're a terrible person.
Someone had to do it.
But yes, so tonight we do have an interview with a very notable new Brony musician out of Australia. And I guess this is good because this would be the second Australian we had on the show. But Reverbrony, hello.
Hello there, everyone.
And how's it going several hours ahead of us? How long is it? It's like 4 a.m. for you right now, so how is that going?
Yeah, how's the future?
How's Sunday?
Yeah, living in the future, it's tough over here in the future with all the snakes and evil kangaroos in 4 a.m.
Oh, what about those koalas?
They actually are like...
Don't get me started on the koalas. They'll tear you to shreds, mate.
The koalas.
No, I'm really excited to be here. It's I've been watching your show for ages, and you guys are all absolutely awesome. Know so much about music, and yeah, no, I'm really excited to be here.
I'm sorry.
You're all so cool.
Well,
And now we're gonna disappoint you. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. You said that we knew a lot about music, and I just find that funny.
some of us know some stuff about music, kinda.
Some of us pretend to know.
Sort of.
And then there's me.
Zeta knows stuff about cello.
Cello.
Cello!
Cello's awesome.
There's always room for cello.
Yes.
Yeah, so how long have you been playing cello, Reverbrony?
With my MIDI keyboard for about a year. I think I'm ready to join an orchestra. It'll be alright. Just need a fairly elaborate setup, and we'll be right. We'll be good to go.
A keyboard and a keyboard amp, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I don't think
No,
anyone
you
will
just
notice.
walk up with a laptop, and you're like, I got this, guys.
I'll have my bow ready to hit anyone who questions me otherwise. It's like, this is a cello. It's a new cello.
Oh, that's great.
I have a broken bow I can give you.
But yes, Reverbrony, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into Brony music, and what kind of stuff do you work on?
How did I get into Brony music? Okay, well, actually, I got inspired to sort of really become a Brony in general through EFN. I swear I'm not sucking up to you guys here. And listening to all the music that came through on Brony Breakdown, actually, back when that was playing a fair bit, and I thought, wow, there's some amazing stuff coming from this fandom. And it just blew me away, and I thought, well, I like making music. Maybe I should give it a go. I'm pretty sure that's probably about 90% of what people have said in some way or another, isn't it?
Probably, but I think a lot of them don't really, I don't know, they don't have the, I can't think of any other word other than audacity, which isn't really the greatest word for this, but yeah, they don't have the audacity to keep it going. The insanity.
There was a second question there, wasn't there?
Just a little bit about yourself, in general.
Well, I mean, the kind of music I try to write is generally I go for progressive. I try not to stick to one style too much, especially between my songs. I typically find if one week I write something really heavy, then that'll sort of satisfy that need for a little while, and I'll go to write something really soft and acoustic or melodic, and then sort of switch and jump around between those sort of things. So yeah, I try to be fairly adventurous between a whole bunch of different styles and try to meld them all together and see what works. That sort of thing. And something I really try to focus on a lot in my music is a lot of deep emotion and sort of visual storytelling, if that makes any sense.
Is it difficult to write songs that are that different apart? Because the two songs that we will feature in this show, they're pretty much day and night from each other. What's that like?
I love doing that, really. I mean, I sort of get in the mindset of sort of going for a bit of a soundscape of like a certain theme of something, and then I'll try to look through all my different instruments and try to focus on what I can use to elaborate in that and sort of try to add in quite a few different layers. But yeah, no, back when I was writing songs really early as well, I was either writing really heavy songs or acoustic songs. This was back before I used a computer for any sort of recording or writing means. So I'm fairly used to sort of jumping to and fro between really different sort of fields of emotion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and was there anything that inspired you to do this? I know I was looking through your inspirations, and Devin Townsend's marked as one of them. That's something I had brought up in our previous live episode, and he does a lot of stuff like that, and he attributes it to his bipolar disorder and just his way of expressing that. What really drives you to do this kind of music, that dichotomy?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Devin Townsend. A few other bands which really inspire me to do this as well is sort of like a Porcupine Tree, Anathema, Riverside, a bit of Dream Theater, Opeth. Opeth do a fair bit of going between really melodic and really dark and heavy at times as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm not bipolar, but I mean, I did used to suffer from a whole lot of depression, and I do wear my emotions typically really quite a lot, and music always was something which I would use to sort of purge that emotional build-up in one way or another. And actually, typically, if I write really, really sad songs, I'll actually be depressed for pretty much the week or so at a time that I'm writing it, just to sort of try to make it as natural as possible. I sort of naturally fall into that state of mind, if that makes sense. So I suppose, yeah, I'm just about as messed up as Devin.
Do you find that when you are depressed or when you're experiencing emotions like that, do you find that your work's any better or worse?
Yeah, I definitely find that I have a stronger connection to it. My latest example of one which I really sort of did that really became quite depressed to write it is my song Solitude. And that one has really sort of stuck in my mind as a bit of a special one as well, because it sort of got more suffering with it. It's more special to me, but I like all my songs, so I'm not sure whether or not arguably better because of that, but I have a strong connection to most of them, if that makes sense. I have a hard time saying whether or not songs of mine are better than others, just because...
It's like picking children or favorite children.
Every parent has a favorite.
It is! They're all my children, I love them so much.
Tim keeps bringing that up.
Oh, you keep telling me that.
I'm not trying to tell you that, Six.
I typically find any ones which I feel get less attention than others, those sort of default as my favorites because I want them to do better, or I feel like everyone loves the other ones, I've got to love these ones more so it's more even. I'm weird like that, but yeah.
Okay.
So, you mentioned that you were writing music before you actually did anything on the computer. So, like, obviously, instruments come into that. So, what is your previous instrumental experience?
Well, before I was doing anything on the computer, I used to write a whole lot of acoustic songs, and I was using some really old... I'm not too familiar as to the sort of text and the way to accurately describe recording gear, but I'm pretty sure it was like analog recording. I pretty much had to record my songs in like one take, and the quality was absolutely garbage.
Did you do it with like a 4-track recorder or just...
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'd like directly plug my acoustic guitar into it and then also have my mic there as well. But I mean, I didn't even use a metronome, which I just absolutely cringe to think about now. And sort of like because there was no screen or anything either, so I couldn't sort of like punch in to start recording here
It was all
or
one
record in
take.
any sort of a loop. I couldn't edit just about any of it at all. It was like a record, a play, a rewind, and then there was like volume adjust knobs. And I'm sure there were other ways to muck around with the things, but I was too lazy to read all the instructions. It was sort of a matter of pressing a 20 button sequence and sort of setting up all these different bits. And oh my god, I couldn't do it.
It reminds me of my first experience recording as well, in that I was in high school with my high school band. The first time we went to record, we decided to grab a 4-track recorder from Long and McQuaid music store and just kind of play around with that. And yeah, we, had to record the drums live, and we had like one mic to do that. So that sounded great.
Oh, fun.
And so we did the drums, and then we threw the bass on, and then, we threw some guitars on and keyboards, and then we ran out of tracks that we had to figure out how to, like, bounce down the tracks so we could actually do vocals on there, too. So, yeah, it was an interesting experience, and it turned out I wound up blowing up my friend's stereo system by plugging the 4-track recorder into it somehow.
That's when you know a song's done. That's when you know it's metal.
So, we don't talk about it anymore. We wound up paying some guy in his basement $100 per song to record, and he wasn't much better. Like, he completely coated his basement in industrial foam in order to create the most terrible,
so
deadest
soundproof
room
it, kinda.
ever.
And then had the one microphone. It was just a slightly better one microphone.
Hanging from the ceiling.
Hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah. All right, everybody go. And
Oh,
good, we're
sick.
done. Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready to rumble? I don't know why. I just got an image of like a wrestling match thingy with the microphone hanging from the ceiling, and then in this corner, Forest Rain.
I got the image of Cradle of Filth's Nymphetamine video.
I'm actually not too familiar with that one.
Yay, you stumped Tim.
Yay!
I don't listen to Cradle of Filth. I know who they are. I've heard their songs. I just don't really.
No, that's fair
When you
enough.
mentioned the wrestling match thing, I immediately began to think about the Iron Will song that we featured on the live episode a couple
yeah.
weeks back. Well, several weeks back at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched that like the other day, and I was like, oh my god, they're talking about my song.
That was a great song.
Yeah, so Tim, now that Reverbrony's here,
Big moment.
you can kind of explain your song selection and how you came upon it and what was interesting about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, he said he listened to the live show, but really it's just we've got that whole restriction of things released in the past month or two. So that eliminated a lot of the songs that I really wanted to feature. And also I wanted to keep it. You write a lot of really long songs, and I didn't want us to pick something that was like 16 minutes and just have to butcher it. And I'm listening to that song, and I'm just imagining Hercule being like, "You get right up here in this stage right now."
Oh, man.
Because I just equate Iron Will and Hercule, and just hearing that awesome epicness, I'm like, this is totally how Hercule sees himself, but it's not how he really is.
Yeah, no, I remember you were telling me about that before, and yeah, no, I see Hercule in the same way. And actually, it's kind of funny. There's one of my friends is reading a hilarious troll fanfiction about Iron Will, and it opens with him riding this massive motorbike with like 2 women on each side and like this massive keg of beer, and he's like, "Oh, can I use one of your songs to play in the background?" I'm like, "Yes, but please use this song Iron Juggernaut, because it'd be absolutely hilarious and it would work so well." So I'm really looking forward to hearing how that sounds.
Oh, that's great.
Nice. One thing that I've noticed with your songs, you usually have 2 titles. Like that one was The Iron Juggernaut and Iron Will. Is there any kind of explanation to why you name your songs that way?
There is. The first title is the main title of the song. That is actually the title of the song. And the little next part is sort of the slight description I use to sort of really explain how I feel it fits to MLP, if that makes sense. So yeah, the first name is the actual title of the song, and then it's sort of like a very short, slight description for how it's an MLP song.
Okay. So, like, or what the song's about and stuff like that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, just so, I mean, when I when people look at it, they might go, "Well, this isn't a pony song," and they'll go, "Oh, it's that little bit at the end afterwards, which makes it sound a little more ponyish."
Hey River, one thing I really like about your music when I'm listening to it is that there's a lot of depth to it. You can kind of like hear all the levels of the music and hear all the different instruments you use. Did you want to talk a little bit about some of the instruments that you find you use a lot more?
Sure. Thanks so much. I find that a massive compliment that comes through. That's something I strive to sort of to show and to try to get across, that I try to have a lot of depth in music and especially try to use a lot of different instruments and have them all to have a chance to shine. So thank you. That really made me happy to hear that you think that.
Yeah, no problem. That's really the kind of music that I like to listen to, so you got my vote.
Aw.
Yay. Instruments I use a fair bit. I use drums.
What?
Real drums?
No, that's
Oh.
the one thing which I feel kind of ashamed about. I can't play drums.
No way.
I write quite a few of the drums which I use, and other parts are sort of pre-MIDI arrangements by Superior Drummer 2 Tune Track, who I absolutely love. I use them for all my guitars as well. Actually, my lead guitar sound is actually Guitar God's Devin Townsend pack, so I actually use Devin Townsend's lead guitar sound.
Okay.
Yay.
Interesting.
But in most of my songs, I use a lot of strings, and for those, I use a violin ensemble, a cello ensemble, and a double bass ensemble. They typically play all the same things, an octave apart. I use them a fair bit. And all my orchestral stuff is all Contact 5. I absolutely love Contact 5. It was the best $400 I think I've ever spent. And that's where I get my choirs from with that as well. In some of my other more out there songs like Cerulean Reveries, Hallucinating Colours, Oasis of Fire, and a few other ones like that, I get quite a few world instruments from Contact 5 as well, sort of like conga drums and sort of orchestral bass drums, different kinds of flutes, some actual proper flutes and some which are sort of in the world music section and have weird names that I don't remember. I just called them weird flutes.
Weird flutes, that's a technical term.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's what they call them as well.
I need the ethnic cart here. Give me the ethnic music cart.
Doctor, get me the weird flutes. Stat.
He's going into a coma. Quick, get the weird flutes. Bring him back.
ER, the musical.
Yeah. And, well, we're about to cut away to a little break here where you can hear some of this instrumentation being used. We are going to listen to Reverbrony's Dystopian Circus here on Elements of Harmony, only on Everfree Network.
yes. That was Dystopian Circus, Deception and Catalog by Reverbrony. That's one of those songs that I was talking about that have like a lot of depth. You can hear all the instruments and none of them really overpower the other too much. It all just kind of goes together really smoothly, and I really like that song. Please, real quick, tell me a little bit about your inspiration behind this song and what it means to you.
Thanks so much. I was really quite proud of this song when I wrote it. It was actually inspired by a band which was really new to me at the time, and as soon as I heard their style, I was like, oh my god, I want to try this. This is so strange and weird, and I've never tried anything like it before. And the band is Diablo Swing Orchestra. Have any of you guys heard of them?
No, but from that name, I can totally understand, though.
I've listened to some of their stuff.
I've heard of them, I've never listened to their music.
Yeah, they go through lots of different weird styles, except they've got this real groove to their music, and I was like, what is that? And I found they write all their songs in swing, which is something I never tried before, and I was like, I want to give this a go.
Wait, swing meaning the emphasis is on the second beat and fourth beat?
I think so.
I think so. I don't know if that's the defining characteristic of swing, but I know that
That is the defining one, because a lot of swing bands, they would always complain because the audiences would dance on 1 and 3, not 2 and 4, and it would throw them up.
Yeah, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Does it not have anything to do with an actual swing in music in the sense that you delay your second and third notes or your first and third notes?
Yeah, and it could actually mess up swing musicians when playing live because of that.
Like jazz, the da, 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 da.
I don't believe... I think... No, there is a... Yeah.
Yeah, well, the eighths, you don't play straight eighths. It's da, 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 da.
Yeah. So it has a sway to it. It's it's swing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and it's something I really wanted to try out, and I had this image of like a really crazy, corrupt, sort of massive high-class Canterlot party, which is why I sort of started off with the sounds of people talking and like plates and glasses, and then I sort of had these violins come in as sort of like the high-class band playing while everyone's sort of drinking and eating and having a good time and sort of all pretty and groovy and stuff like that, and then like just drops straight into the metal and stuff like that. And something I really wanted to try to do was have it shift between the two quite a bit, to have a metal section and then flow into a bit of an orchestral section with the strings.
Yeah, you said on your YouTube that out of all your songs, this is the one with the most chaotic switching between full orchestral to full heavy metal quite rapidly.
It certainly was at the time, yeah. And at a couple of points in that where the guitars will drop off entirely and then the strings will be playing their sharp notes, and then the guitars will come in and play with them and then switch out and all that sort of thing. And then there's also quite a few other instruments that come in on some of the interludes of the song, which I'd never really used before. There's sort of like some like sounds of different wood sticks clapping together and other things like that. And some of those real background sort of ambient-y sort of instruments were actually a program called Alchemical Camel. Have you guys ever used or heard of that one?
No, but it sounds interesting.
Never heard... Wait, did you say Alchemy Camel?
Yeah, it's a free program with these amazing sounds, and it's like, oh my god,
Is it all like wood-hitting stuff and things like that? Or I know a big one that a lot of people used, a plugin that a lot of people used, was something called Storm Drum, which has a lot of those really powerful thunder drums. Like pretty much everything you ever heard in any movie trailer ever was Storm Drum.
Okay, I might have to look into that.
And if you think about the fight scene in the Matrix, the second Matrix, when he was fighting the Chinese guy, I don't remember the name of, but there was a lot of that really heavy percussion with the chick, 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 high wood stick sounds.
Oh, yeah, I know the ones you're talking about.
All of that is in Storm Drum too.
Oh, that's awesome. No, this one's sort of like more general soundscapes, and yeah, I mean, I'm not very familiar with electronic music. That is not my forte at all, but I mean, this is the one place I get their synths, except they sound still kind of natural, or sound, I feel like they work kind of well with some of the music I use. And like the part towards the end, just before it gets really heavy again, where the sound of the party sort of comes back a bit and there's a few different things going on there, that is alchemy, which I use in that bit, and I use it in a fair bit with some of my other songs as well.
I wanted to talk a minute about your drums. I'm kind of surprised that you don't actually play drums, because that really sounded like a real kit. It was probably the mixing, which is awesome, We've said it before in the live episode that mixing is kind of a hard thing to get credit for, but when it's done right, you never really notice. And when it's done wrong, you get yelled at for it. But that was definitely a case of it being done right, because whenever the snare hit, well, it felt like a real snare. And then the hi-hats were really crisp, and side sticks sounded like real wooden sticks hitting each other. They weren't just like a clap track or something like that.
Thanks. I feel I'm not very good at mixing or mastering. That's something I'm really quite an amateur on. I actually, this track in particular, I had some help from my friend Screams from Equestria. He mastered this for me after I had it mixed back before I knew literally nothing about mastering, and then I started having a go with some of my own tracks. But yeah, he mastered this one for me, and I think he did really quite a good job. But my drums, yeah, I use Superior Drummer 2, and I've mucked around a little bit with the EQ of some of the drums. And while I'll pick out the MIDI tracks, what are they? The MIDI grooves of actual real drum riffs, which have been recorded in studios and stuff like that. And then I'll sort of muck around a little bit with those after I've dragged them into sort of like, okay, well, maybe instead of the hi-hat, we'll go to, hitting the top of the cymbal for that sort of high ping sound or something like that, or maybe we'll add in double kick for this, or sort of take out this hit because it clashes with something else, or things like that.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's sort of an interesting take on, using samplers. Instead of actually programming every portion of the drums yourself, you're sort of using these patterns that were already recorded by real drummers.
Yeah. There's a couple which I do myself from scratch, except those ones are sort of either really minimalistic for like an intro for a song, or say like an interlude where there's lots of other things going on. It just needs to keep a really simple rhythm. But for drums like that, I'd be nowhere near good enough at programming to actually have them sound natural. So when you bring these in, you sort of look at them and like, everything's slightly out of time and all this sort of stuff, because it's done by professional drummers. I mean, one of the ones which I use a fair bit is the drummer from Soilwork. He released a pack of these MIDI grooves, and yeah, you look in and you see them and you're like, it seems everything's like slightly off and slightly out of time because it's got that natural...
Well, that's because it's Soilwork.
Exactly. It makes it sound more natural. So yeah, that's what I do with my drums.
That's what makes it sound real.
While we're on the subject of instruments, I am a total gearhead, and I love talking about guitars. So could you tell us a little bit about your guitar arsenal?
Okay. Well, for that song, I use my 7-string Schecter Hellraiser.
Oh, I've got a 6-string Hellraiser. I love those things. They're great.
It was also the first guitar I have which has EMG pickups. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. It sounds so good. My acoustic guitar, which will be in the song that you'll hear later, is a Maton. I absolutely love my acoustic guitar because I feel it's got a real natural warmth to its sound. And I mean, I don't know as much about acoustic guitars as electric guitars, but I sort of feel like they're a little more individual, because I've seen a lot of Matons. I've seen a lot of acoustic guitars, even ones which are the same brand, the same model and everything, and to me they still sound different. So I feel like I was really lucky with this acoustic guitar that I got. It's an acoustic electric, by the way, so I plug it in and run it through Devin Townsend's clean guitar sounds, which makes me happy. And my new electric guitar, and this one is my baby, and I use it for all my songs which aren't either really, really heavy or acoustic, and that is my custom 24 PRS.
Oh, I love Paul Reed Smith so much.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
PRS and Schecter are my two favorite brands.
Yeah, I absolutely fell in love with it, and it's kind of funny because I live in a fairly rural town, and I was down in my capital city to see Lamb of God and Meshuggah. And I thought, I want to buy a new guitar for rock songs and stuff like that, for songs which aren't, extremely heavy, except need a little bit more of a dynamic sound than my Schecter can give. And I was tossing up between a Gibson or PRS, and I ended up going and trying this PRS, and actually ended up missing my flight back because I was too busy playing it and thinking, oh my god, this is amazing. And I missed my flight. But I got the guitar, so I was okay. That's what matters.
That's awesome. No, I love PRS. I've got an old, not an old, I guess it's kind of old. They don't make it anymore. It's an SE soap bar, the one with the P90s, but it's one of the Korean-made ones, and I believe the Custom 24 is not an SE, so it's actually made in the US. I don't believe I've ever played one of those before. I know that they're great, though. There's a lot of people play them.
I think it isn't SE. I remember seeing SE at the top. Just one sec, I'll quickly grab it and confirm this.
Confirmation.
It doesn't say. It doesn't say.
Okay, so it's probably US made then.
But yeah, no, I really like that one. The first song I used that one on was Valkyrie's Amorosity, and I really love that guitar. I use it more than any of my other ones now.
Now, you've been associated with quite a few projects in the fandom, the most recent of which is Pounceade, which you're actually an admin of, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm sort of like a semi-admin. There's other people who are a little more in charge of things than me, but I picked the song arrangement. I mean, I was in charge of a few different things, but that was actually a charity album to help one of my friends who I met on another one of the projects I'm involved in, which is the Heroic Tale, and I mean, I'm very, very close with everyone there. I basically consider him like a second family. And yeah, my friend Pounce, he actually suffered from a really serious stroke, so we made that album to help raise some money for him.
And what was the response like on that?
I've heard it's been really, really good so far. I haven't been keeping as up to date with it as I would have liked to, but I've actually heard that pretty much as soon as it came out, someone actually paid $400 for it, which is crazy on Bandcamp. But yeah, I believe it's going pretty well.
Some bronies are just so fantastic with throwing money at worthy projects and helping support people.
They are. It blows me away. It absolutely blows me away. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's been going really quite good, but I don't have any sort of exact numbers of how many have sold or anything like that. Sorry.
And you also did the background music for the Heroic MLP stuff.
Yeah, that's the project where I met Pounce. He plays one of the lead characters in that. And that was all sort of written by my good friend Scribbler. It's like an adventure radio play about these two characters who go on this massive adventure through the Everfree forest and everything. And it's just really, really well written. And sort of the music that I did for that is full orchestral music, and just tried to sort of give it this kind of comedic, big, epic, over-the-top sort of feel with a whole bunch of strings and horns and harp and flutes and all that sort of stuff.
And if one were to be looking for this, where would we find it, or what should we type into YouTube?
You'd find it on Obab Scribbler's channel. If you look up Scribbler and Heroic Tale of Heroically Heroic Heroes, it should come up there, and that should be where it is. The first episode is the only one that's out at the moment. You'll know when you find it because it's over an hour long.
For those of you just joining us, we are talking with Reverbrony. We are about to take a break and listen to Winter Star, Heartswarming Eve on Elements of Harmony on Everfree Network.
Alright, so that was Winter's Star, Hearth Swarming Eve by our guest, Reverbrony. And he joins us now for our tech talk, where we're going to discuss the layering of different elements in a mix and the balancing of these elements. So, right off the bat, with the song we just listened to, there was a lot of interesting elements that kind of went in. There was sort of driving guitars that were in there. There was an entire string section. There was this wonderfully clean guitar. Can you just talk a little bit in the sense of that song, your process for layering and balancing these things?
Well, this song, actually, this was the very first song where I had this much going on at once, and it was actually with the acoustic guitar and the heavy guitar and the strings and this concoction of piano and harp overlaid with each other to make that very, very intro start, which actually just sounds like a better piano than the one I was using because I added harp over the top of it. But then that really wintry sort of individual, really high chimey sound. That was 3 instruments overlaid on top of each other, all 3 from Alchemical Camel, which I was telling you about.
Were they just sort of like synth sounds or bells or ethnic instruments of unknown titles?
Pretty much. I mean, I remember one was... Nope, I don't even remember that. I remember one was called Sweet Drops or something like that, the other... But yeah, I'm pretty sure they were... maybe they were a proper instrument once, and then were sort of like just modified a little bit around to be like that. But this song, because it was the first which I wrote to go between sort of clean and heavy quite a bit, this was actually the one which inspired me. I thought I want to do this more, and I want to get a PRS guitar to pull it off a little bit more. So I mean, that heavy guitar and that was actually all my Schecter, and if I was going to redo that, I would redo it with my PRS. But as far as actual layering in that goes, at the start, something I try to do a lot is when I have a lot of instruments, I try to build them up slowly and sort of give each one its own space to shine a little bit, and to sort of keep the others the same, playing the same rhythm if I'm getting another one to change, and then sort of turn the volume of that up, which I do a bit at the start with the strings. Actually, no, I think the acoustic guitar was playing as well, but I mean, this is before the first chorus piece where the heavy guitars come in. And also to try to make all of them sound like they're coming through, but not over the top of each other, and I'm not sure if I do that very well.
I'd say you got it. You accomplished your goal.
Thanks. I find it kind of hard to explain how to go about doing that apart from keep things in time in some way or another, because if one thing's out of time, it'll make the whole thing sound like a mess.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you spread so many instruments out, and just the real cleanness of that acoustic was fantastic and added a lot of depth to the song. And the high synths and stuff that you were talking about earlier that are in there also add another layer, and a lot of people neglect that frequency space, I've found. Just the really high frequencies, like if you're listening to orchestral stuff, you won't hear a lot of piccolo or high bells. Like, bells are obviously more commonly used in stuff like Macon stuff and things like that, but I tend to, when I'm doing leads on tracks that are like a synth lead, I'll do a synth lead matched with a softer synth matched with some really high bells, and it just kind of, it adds that airiness, I guess, to it, and just kind of opens up the song a little bit.
I was going to say that it starts out with the acoustic guitar and the higher synths and stuff like that, but then it, I don't know exactly when, but it like really opens up and it just kind of gets huge, where there's a lot of stuff going on and it's all like perfectly balanced, where it feels like you're kind of in a wide open field and it's snowing and it feels like winter. But the balancing in it was done to the point where you're not really, I mean, there are the different parts that you can pick out, and it's not like everything's the same level, but it's not like anything is overpowering another thing, which I feel is really important in music, where you're not bringing too much attention to one certain thing, or if it does have the attention, it should have the attention.
Thank you. There's a lot of nice things you said there. I just wanted to say that first.
That was a long compliment.
It's the whole episode. We really like everything about your song. Thank you for coming on.
It makes me happy. All my times I've been playing and writing music for like just my family. It's blowing me away that people are listening to my stuff and enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing about being a Brony artist, is that there's so many people that are so supportive, and there's such great community to help everybody kind of progress and learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing which I find, I reckon, is tricky about the layering is when you build up all these instruments, which I did coming into the chorus, Or I call it a chorus because it's the only thing that plays twice. But it's where the heavy guitars come in. And then as it's going into the next bit, I find the tricky part is, okay, I want to keep it sounding as wide and open with all these instruments as I can, but they all need to change to be playing something different or, well, something which isn't being played at the moment, because otherwise it would feel like an extension of that. And because I like to, when I have lots of instruments, slowly build up to all of them so that they all have their own space, and the listener sort of gets used to hearing one, so that when another one comes on top, they can hear that. I was like, oh, okay, there's that one as well. And then another one, it's like, oh, okay, that as well. And it doesn't feel like a lot because they're already used to listening to the other ones. But when you change all of them at once, it can be very tricky to have them all still sound like they're not clashing together or that too much isn't going on. That's something I find is really tricky sometimes.
Yeah, they all get their little 15 minutes of fame.
Absolutely.
That's definitely really tricky with orchestral stuff too, in the sense that you can have your strings going, your cellos and your bass are just kind of backing the track, and then you have your violins doing a nice high melody with your violins maybe, or with your violas doing harmonies or mirroring that high melody. And then say you want to move it into a slightly different feel, and then you bring in, say, an oboe and, say, a flute. And just being able to actually make it in such a way that the instruments that you're switching between sort of take up the same frequency space. So as your violin is playing a melody, your flute can come in and take that same melody and sort of the same pitch and just sort of smooth it out nicely that way. But yeah, it's definitely something really tricky, especially when you're working with a bunch of orchestral instruments, is kind of keeping everything in its own frequency range so that nothing really steps on anything else's toes. In the same vein of sort of keeping everything in its own space, one of the things that in your songs you have to contend with are very powerful electric guitars and matching them with an orchestra. And doing that is tricky because if you plug an electric guitar in and hit a chord, an electric guitar basically is the same frequency space as an entire orchestra. It takes up that much space.
Well, and especially distorted patches, they have a tendency to cut through a lot of other frequencies and make it so you can't really hear it as well.
Well, one thing I find interesting about layering is, we were talking about adding all these layers to create openness, and this is kind of making a contrast between what is openness in music and what is transparent in music, because your music is not transparent at all. It's very thick, very rich, but it has that openness to it.
So how do you deal with putting in orchestral elements as well as very powerful guitar?
Actually, how do I do it? Because, I don't do a whole lot of advanced mixing or any of that. I'll adjust the volumes to where I can hear both and sort of think, that sounds alright. Except, again, if one's changing to play something different or I want one to stand out more than another. Like, for example, in this song, I want the strings to come through a little more than the guitar because I didn't want it to appear overly heavy as much as I wanted the guitars to sort of add a little more texture and a little bit more epicness, except I wanted the strings to be the ones that shined more as keeping it a light sort of way. Like, those are 7-string guitars playing there, but I don't feel like it comes across as massively heavy because I've put the strings above to shine that sort of aura of light, I suppose, rather than dark heaviness, which the guitars can do a bit more, if that makes sense in this case. But I don't know, maybe I have a lucky natural EQ between my guitars and my strings of when I play one and then sort of play another underneath. I can hear them both, even though they are both in a very similar frequency range a lot of the time, unless I sort of a really high violin solo sort of playing over the top of them.
One of the things that's interesting, if I had any sort of critique for the songs that I've listened to by you, it's interesting that you say that you don't really do that much mixing because they are mixed really quite well. The only thing I could say is just a little bit more EQ work could be used in some of these tracks just to sort of put things a little bit more firmly in their own places. But aside from that, it's amazing that you don't do a ton of EQ or anything with your mixing.
Thanks, and yeah, no, that's completely fair enough. Like I said, I haven't done a lot of EQing or mixing or anything. I only started recording music with a computer at all about a year ago from now, and also that's the only time I've ever even tried writing with a MIDI keyboard or using any form of orchestra or anything like that at all. And another thing, for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been writing a song a fortnight, and I know there's a lot I could learn about mixing and mastering and stuff, but one of the things I was actually really kind of afraid of when buying all these programs to start doing this is I love writing music. I hate mastering songs. So, I mean, the fact that you guys think
I've tried recording before and I always get frustrated and impatient.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And because I write about a song a fortnight,
This is where the community comes back into play.
But then again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, it's always good to get better, but I'm just saying.
I've seen some hilarious memes of like this skeleton hunched over a massive mixing board with like cobwebs all over him. It's like, oh, this mix is nearly finished, which I mean is so true because I mean you could mix a song forever, and I get mine to the point where I think that's fairly listenable. Not to say I don't try my absolute best, but I don't go out trying to learn all these really advanced mixing and mastering techniques. I've learnt a few, and I should probably go and learn more.
There's always stuff to learn, there's always progress, and there's...
Yeah. And that's with any kind of craft you're doing, whether it's writing or music or art, you can touch up something infinitely, and there's a fine balance of finding out when it's good enough to put it out to the public or not. And there's always going to be something wrong with whatever you put out.
Like you said before, you put a lot of emotion into your music, and this whole this episode so far has just been full of a lot of emotion. And quick question, I just wanted to ask, do you have any quick tips or helpful things that you'd like to say to anybody who's aspiring to become a musician?
Oh God, help me. You can probably teach me more. Oh my God, I honestly actually never thought I'd get asked this question because I never thought I'd be at the stage where people would be asking this question to me rather than me asking it to everyone else that's ever held a guitar before. Oh God. Actually, it would probably be play what you enjoy. Music lessons can always help everyone. I've never had any form of music lessons. Follow your heart. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's 5 a.m. and I don't care. Whatever you want to play, whatever you want to be, go out and try it. And I mean, all of your first stuff is going to be crap. Keep trying and be proud of it. Whatever you make, it is an expression of yourself. Oh, something else, be honest. Music, I always feel, should be the most honest expression of your true emotions and what you want to get across, which you can't actually find the courage to say. If that makes any sense. Again, it's 5 a.m.
But, well, we're about out of time tonight, so thank you very much for coming out tonight, Reverbrony.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute honor to be on your show and to meet all of you guys.
It was great having you.
And we also have many great programs coming up on Everfree Network this week. Forrest, tell us about those.
Yes, we do. We have on Wednesday, tomorrow, the Equestrian Choir at 8 p.m., and then we also have KPNY at 7 p.m. We also have Into the Spotlight on Wednesday as well, 9 p.m. And then on Thursday, we have Sketchy Sounds at 4 p.m. Remember, all these times are in Central.
And as always, on Elements of Harmony on Everfree Network, this is
Forest Rain,
Starlight Ironhoof,
6 String,
and Zeta Prime signing off.